are you today? This video will be a short one on installing the inner fender.
It is fender time. I'm not looking forward to this because this is a freaking crazy shape, and trying to get it to match and clamp it tight. Sorry, focus. And clamp it tight along that. What the hell? Clamp it tight along that edge is going to be tough, so that I can go around it and plug weld it all around here. So I started by just making sure this is right. I had to beat this a little bit. I'm gonna grind some stuff down on this, and then I went through and I had to plug weld, or fill, in this case it's not an actual weld, just fill in some holes from when I was drilling out rivets, and I punched right through. So I got to clean up this rim. I've kind of traced the edge, that's the silver mark you see, to help me line it up. But really, the main thing I have to help me orient that fender against this one is this bracket that's on the trunk deck. I made sure that I scribed into the other piece this edge right here, this top edge, because that's really what places that other piece relative to this one. So I'm going to be paying attention to that. So let's get after it. I got lots of grinding to do. All right, everything is prepped. Let's see if we can get this thing to fit in there and fit tight. All right, so as I described, I used the that flange from the trunk deck as my datum, and then I just started forcing it into the other fender, inner fender, and clecoing as I went. And also, obviously, sorry, not obviously, but try not to stand in the light. There's a flange or a joggle on the fender that this fender fits against that one or into it. So I'm keeping that edge best as I can also as I go around. So I'll start welding this side in, and then I'm just going to be reefing the hell out of this thing to get it to mate up against the other fender as I go around here, again trying to keep this edge in that joggle, in that groove as I go around, and just keep welding it as I go and pushing, just doing what I can, because you can't get a clamp in here. There's nowhere to clamp it, so the best I can do is apply force from this direction to get that to mate. Wish me luck. In a previous episode, I talked about the different hammers and how the ends, not this big end, but the other end changes shape, and it's so you can concentrate the force per strike to a smaller and smaller region, right? That spreads the load out over a bigger region, and then since this is a very sharp point, all the force will go right to the point of contact. So what I'm going to do, this hole right here at the tip is my first target for a weld. So what I'm going to do is just tap around the edge of it, just to very locally deform the metal so it basically bends inward to make better contact with the outer fender, this piece. So that's where you would use just tapping like this, just going around the edge. Tough to do with one hand, of course. But that's a good example of where you would use a hammer like this with that concentrated tip. Okay, well, I finished the welding and the preliminary grinding. I'll I'll smooth that out even a little more. But that task is done. Got to clean up here a little bit, but not too bad. I need to now get the rest of this old quarter panel off and cut it pretty close to the line. You can see I scribed a line here. I held the new panel up to it and saw roughly where it stops. So I've got to undo this nonsense. Keep the B panel clean. It's not contacting here. And then of course I've got all this nonsense in the back I got to do again, which is these rivets here. Rivets, I keep saying rivets, sorry gang, but it's spot welds. Spot welds here. Get this piece of mangled nonsense out of here. And then it looks like I got to replace this panel again on this side. I did it on the other one already, but we'll just do it again here. And then I can test fit the new quarter panel in there much better and see how we did at holding this flanged edge here. But we always have hammers and mallets, and we can beat the hell out of this stuff to make everything match up and fit. So, plugging ahead.
See you later. We'll be working on the quarter panel.